Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. So today this thing that I want to talk to you about is something that I went through a lot as an adult person. You are in this job, sometimes it's a good job, sometimes it's not such a great job, and you feel like you are so frustrated, you don't want to be there anymore. What do you do? So guys, that depends, right? What you do in that situation really depends on where you are in your life at that time. I went through it right after I had my first daughter, which was 11 years ago. After I had my daughter, I started feeling like, I really don't want to leave my child at home. I want to, raise my daughter. But at the same time, I had multiple issues, okay? Because before that situation that I was in a different kind of a job. And at that time, I was very unhappy. I was experiencing some work bullying, something that I want us to talk about another day, because really it is very real sometimes. There are ways to deal with it, and then there are ways, to overcome it. But we are not there today. So I felt like, I don't want to be in this job anymore. And I remember that I went back after I had my daughter. I went back. I realized that, there was no way I could live at that time. So I went back to work. After a year, I decided to quit. So I quit, and now I had a plan. I had a plan of what I was going to do and how it was going to work out. But really, the financial situation at that time was not really, it wasn't really the right choice for me at that time. So I realized that, it's not working out. I need to go back to work. So I decided to go back. And fortunately for me at that time, I could go back to the same workplace that I had worked before. But what in fact happened when I went back is another situation and another story for another day. But anyway, I think what I learned at that time was sometimes we make decisions based on how we feel, and they may not be the right decisions for us at that time. So it's very important to realize whether the decision you are making comes from emotions or comes from, a sober mind, and you've evaluated what you need to do. So at that time, it wasn't the right thing for me to do. I made an emotional decision and it didn't work out for me. So I went back. So, but the point is, I knew then that I didn't want to work forever. I didn't want to work for a company, for forever. I know that I want to work for forever because I love to work. I love to engage my mind. I love to be productive. So it wasn't a case of me not wanting to work, but necessarily just to wake up and go to a company was what I didn't like to do. So I decided then and there I need to make a plan. Okay, at that time I only had one child, and later then I had two more children. So I've currently got 3 children now. But during this time that I was still working full time, I had to put my affairs in order. And if I remember correctly, that's when, as a family, we decided we need to find a place, because at that time we were living in a house that we were not really happy with. We had just bought a fixer-upper that ended up being a money pit. So at that time we were just wasting a lot of money putting money into that house, and we realized we want to sell it. And when I went back to work, the new job was kilometers, like over 200 kilometers from where I was staying at that time. And initially I had to travel like that, which killed me. But eventually we decided we wanted to sell the house, and we ended up managing to sell the house at a loss. Okay, so eventually we sold the house and we moved to a closer location to the work that I was at that time, and for both of us as well. So that worked out. But at the end of the day, now we were renting somewhere. We had sold our house and we needed a place to stay. We had a growing family, and apartment living is not really what we were happy with as a family. So we decided we need to look for a place. Okay, so you remember now, at the back of my mind, there's this thing: I don't want to work anymore. But at the same time, as a family, we are not at a place where I can just stop working. We incurred a loss at the property that we just sold. We both own cars that we are financing. So we've got a second child that we've just had, and it was just not the right situation at that time. So I looked at my finances at that time and our finances at that time, and we decided we needed to be on a plan. Okay. And I think it's very important to have faith and to trust. But if you find yourself in a situation where you are unhappy at your workplace, you need to balance the decision to leave with what it is that you need to do at that time. So I had decided that I still need to work. But then what happens when you are still working and you don't want to work? And that is where you need to manage your emotions, okay? I needed to still be productive at work, because if you look at it, the unemployment rate in South Africa is quite high, okay? And you can't be in a situation where you've got a job, you're unappreciative, you're unproductive, and you're just occupying space at that time. So I wasn't going to be in that kind of a situation. So I had to work on myself. I had to separate what I was feeling with what was actually, the reality. Okay. And that's with everything in life. Hey, sometimes the reality is very different from what you want, from what we want, but you have to separate. You have to learn to separate reality and what actually is in your desires. But then, okay, you don't want to kill your soul. So how do you then function in that kind of a situation? So you don't want to kill your soul where you're dragging your feet everywhere you are, you're dragging yourself at work because you don't want to be there anymore, or whatever situation that may be. So I had to work on a plan to set my finances in order. And most of us, we stay in situations where we are because we are forced. But sometimes it's not about the fact that you've got debt or whatever. Sometimes you just have a family that you need to look after, extended family, and granted, that's a reality. But sometimes, some of us, we could manage our lives differently. Okay, if you're earning an income and you keep on expanding your expenses based on the new check that you're getting, obviously you keep on living outside of your means. You're not going to be in a situation where you can start saving money, start investing in your own dreams, or and be able to make a decision that favors what you desire at that time. So now I was still at work. So I decided to work on finding my hobby. Okay. And I remember I can't even like explain to you what a difference that made to my life at that time. I started, I didn't know initially what my hobby was. I didn't know what my passion was. All I used to do was to wake up, go to work, come back, pick up my kids, go home, cook dinner, eat dinner, go to sleep, wake up, da da da. The same thing over and over and over again. And most of us, that's how we operate. Most of us, we live that kind of a life, okay? And sometimes you have to, but you don't have to, you know, accommodate that kind of a mundane existence. So what I decided to do at that time, and I remember it was prompted by a question I was asked by one of our managers at that time. He asked, what do you do outside of work just for fun? And I was like, I couldn't think of anything. I couldn't think of anything because all I could think about was how much I was unhappy with what was currently happening. I need to work, so I'm putting myself into work as much as possible because I want to impress my boss at that time, and I wanted to prove to myself, that I can be diligent even though, the situation is what it was. But at the same time, I had to go back to a young child and be a mother, and that's what I was doing. So I found my hobby. Okay, initially, I just was just doing everything. I was just doing everything and exploring. And suddenly I was finding this one thing that I kept repeating. And for me at that time, it was gardening, okay? I started gardening. I was enjoying it. And every time I came back from work, I wouldn't just, hit the couch, watch TV. I'd see what was happening. I had a helper at that time. I would ask her to assist me with preparing the meal, and I'd go out to my garden. And before you know it, I would even forget that I've been at work. I would forget about anything that I was frustrated with at work. I would just put myself in there. It became such a joy for me that it became such a distraction for me that I actually started enjoying work more. And that's one of the things that I learned about finding a hobby or finding something that excites you other than what you have to do at that time. It's like life. It's like a new life. You feel like you've rediscovered yourself, and that's what it is actually. You do rediscover yourself. And it was such a thing for me, and that led to many other things that I started doing. That's when I started experimenting about with DIYs, making stuff for my hair. That's when I started really focusing on my hair. I've been natural for over 16 years. Like, I've been natural for long, but before then I was just, my hair was also, in kind of a situation where I was also not sure what I was doing, because I was not really looking at it, and I was not really investing time in learning more about how to do it properly. That's when I started, experimenting with different things. And that's when I started finding that was really my passion. And before then, I wouldn't have known. If I just was happy to exist in the way that I was existing, which is to wake up, go to work, be frustrated, come back, eat dinner, watch TV, go to sleep, then I wouldn't have been where I am right now. So also another reality that we experience, or that some of us go to as the working class, because I'm a working class as well, is that the time you get your paycheck, you look at the numbers, you look at the numbers, and you say, okay, that means now I can buy this car, that means now I can buy this property or rent this property. Next time you get a different check, you start adding to it, you incur more and more debts. Okay, and that's one of the things that I really want to talk about on this channel, is about this culture, of every time you get a new paycheck, you start adding to the burden, you start adding to the expenses. And one of the things that we had to learn as a family was really evaluate what it is that we need to do at that time. And that came about through the period when we were building our property. We started seeing that we should actually sell our cars and downgrade. We there's many things that we decided to do to cut down on expenses, and obviously that means that we were not going to be adding to that current burden. And when we stopped doing that, when we started implementing that kind of a lifestyle, it made such a big change to our lives. I started being able to see that, if I carry on this way, if I save money rather than to take things on installment and take accounts for everything, eventually I could have the extra money to invest in what had started as a hobby at that time and was becoming my business. I had extra money at the end of the month, to invest into it. And I'm still growing, it's still a small business and it's still growing. But if I was just adding and adding to my expenses, I would still be stuck in that cycle. Okay. And that is my advice today, is that we break the cycle of paycheck, increase debts, paycheck, increase debts. Okay. And it's the same cycle that we were in as well. And sometimes it's hard, to break out of that cycle. But I had to realize that I need to carry on working while I'm working, what can I do to reduce my expenses, or reduce my ends? You know, they say we work so we can make our ends meet, but sometimes our ends just keep growing and just keep growing, and you want to get a better job, you apply for a better job, you get a bigger job with a bigger paycheck, and then you just make more ends to meet. Okay, so I just want to advise us today is, firstly, accept that current situation that you are in. Choose to create a distraction or something that will bring joy to your life at the time. Dream, okay? Put your dreams down in pen and start making a plan about how you're going to make those dreams happen. Reduce your burden, okay? Reduce your monthly expenses so that you can start investing in your dreams. And who knows, that may become something that you can really put yourself into as a full-time business. Okay, so I wish you all the best, whoever is watching at this moment. If you are interested in starting a business, you know, you should start. Okay, my advice is that you should start while you are working. Reduce your expenses so that you can have money. Start investing into your business so that you grow it while you are working, while you are setting up your life to accommodate, you know, a decision later on if you want to make a decision to exit the full-time employment. And it's doable. Okay, I left my full-time employment last year, December 2020. So 2020, I left my full-time employment after working 10 years, after I had decided that I don't want to do that anymore. And by the time I left work, I was not emotional about it. It was something that I had planned to do, and I decided that no matter what, it's a decision that I've made that I'm going to stick to. Okay, and obviously it's not something that you can just do if you haven't set yourself up in a way that you can afford to. And fortunately for me as well, but it's not something I carry in my mind. I'm going to say this, but it's not something that I am holding on to. I have a partner who's still working full-time, but it can be done even if you don't have a partner. If you just make the right decisions about your finances, and provided that you don't have added responsibilities in terms of extended family, you can, or even if you have responsibilities of an extended family, if you set up your business in such a way that it has a regular income, it is something that you can make into a full-time job. While you are where you are, be grateful, okay? Practice gratitude every day. Every day you wake up, be grateful that you have that employment, because a lot of people are looking for jobs and they don't have those jobs. So be grateful that you have been employed, you are getting a regular paycheck, but at the same time, work on your own dreams, okay? Work on your own dreams and make a plan to exit. See you on the next video. If you like this content, comment below, like and subscribe to my channel, and just let me know down below what kind of a situation you are in currently, and I wish you all the best.